Hi! On the Woodpecker today, I finish the chest of drawers and bring it to the cottage. In my last two episodes, you saw me surface all the wood that I cut at the cottage, assembled the exterior, made the top and the two boxes for the drawers. Now it's time to make these drawers. This is all the wood I have left to make them. It's not enough. That's why I joined several glue-ups together to make longer ones. Since this series about the construction of this chest of drawers is endless, I will make a separate episode to show how I did them. But still, to get a better idea of the quantity of wood I have on hand, I cut a straight end on all my glue-ups and make sure that I have at least one side straight. Now I cut the glue-ups to the width of each drawer. Here's all the wood I have on hand. Even with the small glue-ups I made, I really don't have enough. So we have to go back to the loft and bring down more wood. To better surface my wood, I mark it and cut it a little longer than I really need. Next, I surface all the wood I brought down. When I'm finished, I'm really disappointed. This wood is full of wormholes. I waited too long to cut it at the cottage after the tree died. I really can't use this wood for drawers fronts as I was planning to do. I have to move on to plan B. I also brought down this board. It wasn't cut the same year as the color of the ends tells me. But it's not thick enough. Still, I cut it into smaller pieces and surfaced them. It's already thinner than the thickness I need, and the other side isn't even surfaced. I cut it into smaller pieces. Now that I have boards close to the thickness of my drawers, I glue boards full of holes to the back of my beautiful two-tin boards. I now have two future drawers fronts, but I'm missing two others. I'm doing the same thing a second time. Now I have four drawers fronts that are drying. When the glue is dry, I remove the small drops of glue that have passed through the wormholes and surface all these glue-ups to the right thickness. With these four glue-ups, I have all the wood I need to make the 8 drawers. But the back and the sides are thinner. I have to take care of that. Finally, I can cut all this pile of wood to the width of the drawers. Here is all the wood required to make all the drawers. Before going any further, I put the fronts on top of the other with a spacer between each to see if I really cut everything to the right width. And yes, I'm now ready to cut the bottom fronts to their right length. Here they are. I have to do the rest of the drawers assembly. But as I said before, this dresser takes a long time to build, and I'm going to make another video to show you how I went about assembling the drawers. Once I have the outline of the two bottom drawers, I can start all over again for the upper drawers. Eventually, I have the 8 drawers without their bottom cut out. The chest of drawers is really taking shape. These drawers will slide on runners inserted into the grooves that I made in my first part. So I start by cutting tongues on the runners. The tongues are longer than the grooves. I mark what I need to remove and remove it. Next, I make a small chamfer on the runners. Finally, they will go just like this. With the runners in hand, I can put the drawers in place and mark where to cut the groove on the side of the drawers. And now, with runners and grooves, the drawers really function as they should. I just have to repeat the same thing for the 7 left. But when I get to the last one, the lowest one, it was a little too tight for my taste. So I remove a bit of wood. And there it goes. I must admit that looking at my dresser like that, I'm pretty happy with the result. But here, I'm taking a break. The next day, René and I leave for a 3-week vacation at the cottage to rest a little and get some fresh air. When we get back, I have to finish this dresser. The drawers don't have bottoms. I'm going to use these old drawers bottoms that came from this piece of furniture I started to take apart. They are perfect. They have the right width, but not the right length. I fixed that right away. Now I just have to glue the strips to the end of each bottom and wait for the glue to dry. But in the meantime, I can cut the grooves that will hold the bottoms in place. Before going any further, I check to see that everything fits together perfectly. And it does. So I sand all the inside of the first drawer. Then I glue it. I do one drawer at a time and take care of the next one. In fact, I glue them one by one because I don't have enough clamps to glue more than 2 drawers at the same time. Eventually, the 8 drawers are finished, but the handles are missing. For that, I'm going to use this piece of cherry wood. You may recognize it because this is the cherry that Peter gave me, and I went to pick it up in the United States a few years ago. Now I need to surface it so I can make my handles. When I have all my pieces, I screw one to my CNC table and cut the finger holes. The beauty of having a CNC is that while it cuts the back of my handles, I can finish the drawers. I just have to remove some dust from time to time and get back to them. The CNC finishes the back of the handles before I'm done with the drawers. I take a short break from sanding the drawers to sand the back of the handles. Then I drill holes in my spoil board to have alignment holes. I put small pieces of dowels in the holes of the handle block, align them with the holes in the table, and shape the front of the handles. I start with a roughing pass. When it's finished, I change the bit and it's time for the finishing pass. While the CNC is still working, I can continue sanding the drawers that I haven't finished yet. After a little while, I have all the handles I need. I even have one more because I had a small incident with one of them. To finish the handles, I have to take care of the tabs that were holding them in place. The tabs are gone, but the surface of the handles is far from being completely smooth. I fixed that. Now that the handles are to my liking, I have to burn the animals that I want on each one. It's still quite long, but since I'm not finished with the hand sanding yet, I'm taking care of that while the animals get burned. When it's finished, I resand the handles and lay them outside so they can change color with the sun. But I'm not completely finished with the laser. I have to burn my logo on the sides of the drawers. And again, while the logos are being burned, I do the last sanding. Having a laser on a CNC is really useful when you want, like here, to burn vertically. Now all the drawers have my signature. You can notice that each one has a different height. If you're wondering if there's a signature on the other side, well, here's your answer. Now that the drawers are finished, I have to take care of the hinges. I start by cutting rabbets. Now I cut the hinge to the right length. finally screw it in place. I only use 4 screws for now. I use shims to lift the box and screw the other side of the hinge to the box. Here's the first box with its hinge. I have to do the same thing for the other side. Now that the 2 boxes have their hinges, I can't wait to try it. But first, I have to put the casters on. For that, we put the chest of drawers on its back. But the casters don't stick out of the base. I have to take care of that. Now that I have thin boards, I can glue them in place. Since I don't want to wait for the glue to dry, I put a line of instant glue on each end of the board before putting it in place. I do the same thing for the 4 casters. Then I can screw them in place. With the casters in place, I can measure the thickness of the block I need for the casters of the boxes. I find 2 pieces of scrap that I glue together. When the glue is dry enough, I surface them to the thickness I need. After checking that it's the right thickness, I cut 2 blocks and glue them in place. When the glue is dry, I can screw in the casters. Finally, I'm able to test the concept. I must admit that I'm pretty happy because everything works as I had planned. Before unscrewing the base from the sides, I drill holes that will help me align all the pieces together when I will reassemble the cabinet after varnishing it. When the holes are done, I disassemble everything and give the final sanding to all the pieces that haven't had their final sanding. But when I sand this part, I realized that I forgot to cut the corners at 45 degrees. I stop the sanding and take care of that. Before sanding the outside, I cut a chamfer on the 2 corners. This chamfer will hide the joint between the back and the sides, as you can see here. Next, I can finish the sanding. Finally, everything is sanded to the final grit so I can clean the drawers. I'm going to spray varnish in 2 stages. I start with the 8 drawers. When there's no more dust, I spray the first coat of varnish. I finish with one of the 2 top panels. After 3 hours, the varnish is dry enough to sand it a little at low speed. Then I wash off the varnish dust and do the same thing on the drawers. When the dust is removed, I can fill my spray can with semi-gloss varnish. The first coat was glossy. Now I spray the second coat of varnish. The next day, I do the rest of the pieces. René helps me clean them up, and it's time to spray the first glossy coat. Then I have to wait about 3 hours for the varnish to be dry enough to sand it and spray the second coat. I still have the handles to spray. They have changed color quite a bit in the sun. You can see the difference here with the handle that has never seen the sun. 2 days later, I can put everything back in place. I start with the base, and thanks to the alignment holes I had drilled, putting everything back in place was a breeze. All I have to do is screw in all the screws. I screwed in the slides, but it wasn't a good idea. I will have to remove them. You will see why soon. At least this part of the slides will stay in place. To hold the top in place, I will use figure 8 connectors. But to be able to fix them, I have to drill holes on the top of the sides. Then with a carving knife, I remove the corners so the connectors can move. Finally, I screw them in place. After putting the top in place, I make sure it's centered, and it's right here that I notice that the top slides are in the way. I'm forced to remove them so I can screw the top in place. Next, I put the slides back and screw in the hinges. When the 2 boxes are back in place, I make sure the drawer slides will stay put. Then I can screw the hinges on the top. This time I use brass screws. I hadn't sanded between the varnish coat inside the boxes. I do it now and also apply wax to help the drawers slide better. Now I have to take care of the handles. I start by using the template I made quite a few years ago to drill the holes on the back of the handles. To drill the holes correctly on the front of the drawers, I make a template with acrylic. I use it to mark where to drill the holes and drill them. The first drawer is finished. I repeat the same operations for the others. Eventually, I have all my handles in place. I'm pretty happy with the look of my chest of drawers. I'm wondering how much it weighs. A good 110 pounds for only the half of it, and another 110 pounds on the other side. So the whole thing weighs 220 pounds. Now it's time to put it in the truck, using other drawers to bring things to the cottage. Without the handles, it's easier to protect it during transportation. Once at the cottage, we remove all the protection we put around it. This includes a moving blanket and all the styrofoam that we will use to finish insulating the floor. To hold the two boxes in place, I had made a support block. After removing it, we can bring all the parts inside. In the cottage, we put the casters back in place. But I have a bad surprise. I realize that my floor has a bump. Because of this, the boxes can hardly move. So I have to add pieces of wood to lift it a little bit more from the floor. With spacers at different thickness, the movements work as I had planned. It's much easier to modify the casters than the floor. Here is the top at its full size. To be honest, I don't think I'll see it open very often, but it will be useful the day we will need it. I had removed the handles for transportation, so I have to put them back in place. And with the handles, the chest of drawers is completely assembled. We can now remove the old table to make some room and push it into place. Now we just have to fill the drawers. Believe me, it won't be difficult. Now we have an easy access to the last drawers. Opening the panel is super easy. But like I said before, I don't know when we'll use it that way, because René has found a position to paint our Christmas ornaments that doesn't involve opening the panel. This is how I make the new chest of drawers for the cottage. I hope you have enjoyed this series, and we'll see you soon for another episode of The Woodpecker.